In this episode of being a food service worker, we're going to be talking about disclaimers before we can get started. You would think you'd do the disclaimer and then do the thing. But, anyways, disclaimer though, if you have one of those attention spans, very short, probably not the channel for you. We'll see you sometime when your attention span is able to be there. That said, we're going to talk about the inmate special diets. So you have a variety of diets that you have to cover. One of them is called the Ramadan. I got to get this one out ahead of time. Ramadan is a bamboozle, I think, of one of the diets of the year, Ramadan. It's like a religious diet, and it can be one of the craziest diets to deal with. Normally, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it starts sometime either February, March, or April of every year or something like that. And thus said, it's annoying. I don't know too much about Ramadan. You could probably look it up on the internet and learn more about it. But it's a special diet where I guess these guys are supposed to fast or something like that. And they're not supposed to eat after sunup or sundown or something along those lines. I apologize for being so ignorant and not knowing much about Ramadan. But I've only had to do Ramadan once since I worked as a food service supervisor and all that stuff in the county. I kind of came into it a little bit in the middle of it just starting. So each area will probably have a different type of thing, but these inmates are supposed to eat I think a certain amount of food, and then they fast for a period of time for a number of hours before they can eat again, and it goes for a period of days, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of like Hanukkah, I guess you could say, for the Jewish people, where they have a special thing they do for Christmas type thing. Only this is more of a diet for Ramadanis. That said, then you got your vegans. Your vegans don't eat anything meat, and if they get, oh my god, if you get anything meat related in their food, you're probably going to have so much problems with that. So vegans are obviously people who do not eat anything that's animal based at all. If it was made by an animal, came from an animal, they will not eat it. Then you have your what do you call it? You have people who have health issues like diabetics. They have to eat something normally at the end of the night, like a peanut butter sandwich. And the peanut butter is different from the peanut butter that we normally eat here on the outside world. The peanut butter they normally are supplied with is peanut butter that has a slow burning, so it stays in their system a little bit longer than the peanut butter you eat on the outside, which keeps them from having any diabetic issues. It's really important that these diabetics get their peanut butter sandwich. It doesn't have jelly in it, it's normally just peanut butter. And then you have your renal, which is somebody, from my understanding, that has kidney issues. You have a pre-dialysis, you have a dialysis, which is still pretty much somebody who is a renal. They can't have certain things like beans or potatoes or anything with potatoes in it, so a kind of substitute for that would be something like noodles or rice. And whether substitute you would replace beans with for your facility. That said, then you have your koshers, which koshers are kind of like a really strict diet. I don't understand the whole kosher thing when it comes to that, unfortunately, but their diet is pretty strict. I think it's more of a religious thing, but anyways, I've seen in some places where they just get like a little fishy pack. For many of y'all that have ever had tuna packs, like the little tear bag of tuna, maybe. I think it's like, what is it, sun something? I don't know. Anyway, they're little tuna baggies that they get that they eat. I know they get like sardines and mackerel and stuff like that. Another days they just might get a fruit, a bag of just a whole orange or an apple, and a vegetable baggie, like in the sandwich bag, maybe some cabbage and some bread in it, some butter, and stuff like that. It just depends on their meal. Like it's literally bland like that, right? What else do you have? You have a variety of other different diets that I can't think off the top of my head. It's crazy. Some of the places you may hear like a bland no sauce too. A bland no sauce is normally, so when you have a kettle cooks, the guys that actually cook the main food for the facility, which it may be different for your area. You may have diet cooks that actually do this whole thing. So, but I know places I've worked at, you have had cases where the guys who cook the big portions of the food for the facility will cook a big batch of that stuff, but they will take out a little bit of that plain meat and pan it off so that it's held for just the diets. So if you have somebody who's a bland no sauce, meaning there's no liquid in it at all, like, so if you're having a tomatoey paste meal that day and you need bland meat, then you need to have the proper amount of bland meat for the diets to be able to have. It's been crazy in places where I've worked. Okay, I was in charge of making sure that my kettle cooks had stuff that was specifically made for the diets. You would figure the diets would have handled their own thing, and maybe in other places the diets do handle their own things. But where I worked at, places like that, it was our job to make sure that the diets had their portion of their meat, and also, ironically, it was our job to make sure that they had plain noodles if we were having like pasta salad or a spaghetti related food, and maybe people that were allergic to tomatoes or onions or something in the main dish that was gonna make them have to have just a plain meat and noodles to go with it, or rice or something like that. So you had to have that. And you have your people who are like allergens. You may have somebody who's allergic to fish. It's been rare that I've seen fish, but in some places maybe it's just prison. But I've never really heard in the county of them getting fish ever. It's normally you'll see just chicken and turkey. You'll rarely ever see beef and pork served. It is normally chicken and turkey mixed up meat is the way it normally is. And it's normally frozen in a big block. It normally has to be taken out sometimes and thawed out for the next day for it to be used. And that said, you have to accommodate for those people who are allergic to fish, or maybe even, ironically, allergic to soy. Which is funny because majority of the bread, if you actually take the time, right, to read in your dry storage room, even your bread baggies that you all get, or in your dry storage where all your supplies are for like the muffin mixes, the cake mixes and stuff like that, majority of all that soy in there, or it's got some type of soy in there. And it's ironic that you may have somebody who says that they are no soy. You are obviously going to find some people in the facility who are allergic to carrots. They're allergic to green beans. They're allergic to corn. They're allergic to a variety of things that they're allergic to like shellfish, example. So you have to accommodate for that. You'll have to have something aside for those diets who are allergic to those vegetables somehow, or allergic to that food somehow, like even onions, tomatoes. They claim they're allergic to. So those are a variety of different types of diets that you'll have to accommodate for in those facilities. Because God forbid somebody gets something ain't supposed to have, you could have a uproar in there. Not only that, but your boss could be ticked off with you too, that you actually gave a vegan a regular tray that had meat on it, and that person wasn't supposed to cook that. Yeah, so there you have it. Be careful what you eat. Be careful with what you serve. Make sure you have the proper amount of food for the accommodate all your clients in the facility. Make sure everybody's happy, like I am getting ready to go to worky. And I'll see y'all somewhere in the next episode. I'm rolling out. See you. By the way, before I roll out, share this video with somebody you love. Tell them how these videos are cringe worthy.